Hello, my name is Scuria-Herman, and today I'll be speaking on the topic of inspiration. Now, inspiration comes in many forms. I am speaking on it with a very specific purpose. You see, on this channel, since its formation, I have had a section on my homepage dedicated to content creator inspiration. These are select creators that I believe that I draw from. I don't think I've mentioned I've mentioned a couple of them just passingly, but it's not like any of the big names that people have come to associate my channel with, such as Aesop Rock or Ren. Let's look at these right now. I recently had to update the people who I labeled as content creator inspiration, because I mentioned this in a recent video about SEO, but when you look up my name on Yates on Google, one of the first images that pops up now was the profile picture of one of the creators that I put on content creator inspirations, and I found that curious. I went to his channel. He has political views now that I don't necessarily agree with. And if that's coming up with something when you search up my name, I don't like that, especially if I'm looking for a job. I don't want that associated with me. So I had to remove him. I used to like his content. I don't watch him anymore. And now I feel like I made the right decision there. So I've narrowed it down to 5 individuals. The first individual, Fif Badaki. Fif Badaki, great content creator, does very similar content to what I do, minus the music stuff. He does like on topic of style content. Very well spoken, very eloquent, very intellectual. He's very, very good at what he does. He speaks very well. I haven't watched him in a very long time, but one of my videos on the topic of the flaws of diversity in media, I wrote directly from inspiration from that guy. So I highly recommend him. If you go to my home tab, all of these channels will be linked. The next person on this list is Jake Weddle. I did make one video on Jake Weddle. I'm realizing that people have permeated into my content more than I thought they did. But I did one video on Jake Weddle on the topic of Mr. Beast, I believe it was called. Jake Weddle, a former employee of Mr. Beast, former writer in his writer's room. For Mr. Beast, he now famously, after leaving, or rather getting fired for asking for adequate pay, he was asked back to participate in the challenge, where he was rigorously tortured for days on end, and there was a horror cut of the video that he was a part of, and they ended up not being able to publish it. And that's the whole thing. That was one of the many Mr. Beast controversies. But the reason why I like him is not because I think that he's a victim or something. It's because he's a stand-up comedian. He's a very good stand-up comedian. He has very good sets that he does. He does also a lot of commentary on other stand-up comedians that I think is good. I haven't checked out his content a little bit. He's on work for a lot of stuff. A lot of these you'll notice I don't really watch that regularly, because I just don't watch YouTube that regularly anymore. But aside from the stuff I watch for this channel, but Jake Weddle, very good content creator. I see his shorts come up when I'm looking for other stuff to watch for this channel. He does a lot of like Baldur's Gate 3 and Arc Raiders content nowadays. So if you're interested in that, but he also does a lot of like stand-up comedy commentary, which I recommend. The next person who I haven't mentioned on this channel is a father figure. The lore around that channel and why it's a content creator inspiration of mine is so extended, and there's no reason to get into it in this video. But he was a very good creator. He kind of disappeared. I would watch him regularly if he still uploaded, but I don't believe he does anymore. He was very active on YouTube for a very long time. And honestly, he is one of the like sort of people that you've seen before, but you didn't realize you've seen before. I ate like a Justin Y type. The next one is Lofi Girl. the music you're hearing right now in the background is from Lo-Fi Girl. I filled out a form a while ago to allow that. But yeah, I mean, it's clear. I just, the lo-fi music, I listen to lo-fi music a lot. There's lo-fi music in the background of these videos. That's kind of like my vibe if I had one. So that's why she's up there. Lo-Fi Girl, the artist formerly known as Chilled Cow. And the last one on this list is ToddyBoya. Todd Edward Boya, if you will. He's an Australian commentary channel. Does a lot of movie reviews and stuff. Very good sense of humor. Very good just commentary on anything, really. He does a lot of, lately he's the one that I think aside for Lo-Fi Girl, but she, streams music. Aside for her, Toddy is the one that I watch the most as of late. He does a lot of content where he will look at 5 movies of a certain category and talk about them at length. Very good content. I'm not really hyping it up that much, but I really like him. I referenced him in a recent video about how much I liked him. Sometimes I watch his videos before I do recordings on my own, just to get in the mood and to make sure that my computer can actually record things, and then it ends up being corrupted anyway, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, those are the content creator inspirations I have on here. They're all very good. I highly recommend each of them. But I did have an ulterior motive with making this video. It wasn't just to talk about my inspirations for YouTube. I have a thesis. I've talked about this many times before. And one of the components of the thesis that I have not done and I've been criticized for not doing is an inspiration list. And the reason why I want to make this video is I do not track inspiration that directly. With YouTube, I think it's different. I think I could look directly at my watch history and look at the creators that I like, and then I don't think I'm making the same exact content as ToddyBoya or a father figure. I don't think I'm making the same exact content as them, but there's lines that you could draw. With writing, I don't think that I can really track it to an external level. And people keep saying, well, what's your inspiration? What's your inspiration? What's your inspiration? I don't really have an inspiration. It comes from here. It doesn't come from out there. And I really struggle with this concept that people keep trying to impress upon me, that you don't create your own work. It must come from elsewhere. I don't like that. I created this. I created my idea for the thesis. And I know that's not what inspiration is. Inspiration isn't just oh, you're copying someone else. And I'm not saying that it is. What I'm saying is, I can't even draw a connection to most other people's work between mine. I'm doing something completely different from most other people. And I just really struggle with this idea of inspiration, because I guess I could be inspired by something, I could be inspired by a ToddyBoya video to make a completely different video. But with writing, I just don't see the line. I never see the line. I'm currently reading The Invention of Prehistory. My bookmark is a napkin, ignore that. But The Invention of Prehistory by Stefanos Geroulanos. This is one of the books that is on my list now. The problem is I fully conceptualized and wrote a good portion of my thesis before even knowing that this book existed, before this book was even published. I would say that maybe this is inspiration. I cannot tie a direct line of inspiration to this book. I feel like that's almost impossible. And I like this book. It has a lot of good commentary on the origins of man and fascism and all that sort of thing, which is key to my thesis. But it isn't my inspiration. And I really struggle with this concept, because I am not creating something from something. I am just creating something. I am thinking of a story and I'm making that story. And I really struggle with this idea of inspiration, because I really feel like so much of this, the education cycle that I found myself in, is denial of originality. It's repeatedly refusing to allow me to be original, because every time I come up with an original idea, it's like, okay, compare yourself to a different author. Where did you get that idea from? And I can't just say, I compare myself to me. I can't just say, I thought of the idea, because then I get a bad grade. But then I have to lie and say, I came up with the idea from Stefanos Gerilanos, who I've only read 3 or 4 chapters of this book. And I came up with the entire thesis before I even read it. You understand what I mean? It's a ridiculous system to impose upon people. And I think the most direct line of inspiration I have is a previous work that I wrote, which is so egotistical. Going back to the last video, it's so egotistical to put a piece that I wrote in my inspiration list for my thesis, but I really don't know what else to do, because that's the only thing that has any semblance of truth for this. Everything else just feels like lies. The only other one was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I came up with this idea before even reading Gatsby. You could say that I came up with this, you know, I later in the conceptualization stages, as I compounded upon this idea, then Fitzgerald bled in, which I allude to in my critical introduction. But I really don't. I don't think so. I don't know. So I did put together a list. I asked for feedback from it, from 2 people, and I have not heard back from them. After this video, I'm gonna email them and see what they think. No, I won't. I mean, I need to email someone else about something else, but that's gonna help me remember. Regardless. I don't like inspiration. I don't like the concept of inspiration. It bothers me, especially when it comes to writing, because I really don't feel the connection there. But here's the list that I put together, and I want to share this. The first piece I put in alphabetical order. The first piece is A Hanging by George Orwell. George Orwell, many of you will probably recognize the name. I'm not here to make a biography about George Orwell. The reason why I put A Hanging in there is how it writes humanity, because my thesis is very centered on humanity, and it's this idea of someone, I believe it's set in India. It's a real story, and it's during the British occupation of India, where this Indian man is going to be hanged. He's like going over to, like, you know, where they're gonna kill him, and George Orwell is watching this happen, and he watches as this man who is going to die avoids this puddle on the way to die. And it really clicks in his brain something, how even if he is, like, you know, fully aware of his mortality, he still wants to avoid inconvenience. And so there's many reads of this, but it's a very interesting piece in what it says about humanity. I recommend it. It's short. It's the one piece in this that's like in quotes. So it's a short piece. It's like 2 pages. It's online somewhere. If you could find it, I recommend it. The next 3 are pieces from Eoin Colfer. I'm not going to go into these. Eoin Colfer is one of my favorite writers. I don't think I write like Eoin Colfer. I definitely read Eoin Colfer before writing or coming up with this thesis. That being said, I really can't say that anything that Eoin Colfer did influenced my writing. I can't say that concretely. But I put a few pieces of his in here to sort of just say, well, maybe. Next is this other book, The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. Another book that I'm currently reading. You can tell how I go about this inspiration list. I was literally told, oh, if you can't come up with anything, just write down what you're reading. Okay, Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. It's a good book. How it does mystery and how it does characterization, especially in the very beginning, is very strong and very much relates to how I do characterization and how I want to do mystery. The only problem is I started reading this now, after I've already written 90 pages of the beginning of my thesis. So it's not inspiration, it's just a good book. I put a movie in here because it's just a good movie. It's a good sci-fi movie. Another book in here that I do think has some relation to how I did it, like it had some inspiration, regardless of the fact that this is fully after the conceptualization of the piece. There's a couple books. There's a Yates book, a Katherine Dunn book. Both of them very like localized on the humanity of the characters. I'm not gonna get into it because it's a lot. This video is long enough already. But Richard Yates and Katherine Dunn, both great writers. I don't believe I'm writing like they are, but Richard Yates especially, I do feel like has a similar writing style, regardless of the fact that I'm not necessarily inspired by him, but a very similar writing style where I think I can get away with just putting him on the list. I put Gatsby. I don't know if you guys know about the Guys Read initiative, but I put a couple of those books. I put the sci-fi one because I'm writing sci-fi, and the original Guys Write for Guys Read, just because that's what I read growing up. Another reason is because I'm just writing men. I'm writing a bunch of male characters and what it means for them to be men. So I feel like that works. I included in this inspiration list a passage from James Wood's How Fiction Works, which I quoted extensively on the topic of free and direct style, which I used to edit my thesis, free and direct style from narrating. It's a whole thing. I do think that inspired it, but again, that came after. It's retrograde inspiration. And it's such a minor thing too. It's one chapter of this book, but I need something. The Invention of Prehistory, another Eoin Colfer book, an album by Josh A., who an artist I reference repeatedly on this channel. More Than Human by Theodore Sturgeon. I do not like this book. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like that book. I don't even think I finished it. No offense to Theodore Sturgeon, who is very much dead by now, right? No offense to him and his family. I just hate the book. He's also a Scientologist, but I hate the book. It has some ideations on race that are really outdated. It was progressive for the time, but it's really outdated now. That's not the reason I hate it. It's just not written well. I don't like the way it's written. But because I'm writing human characters and he characterizes humans in a specific way, to fill out this list I included him on there. I don't think there's any relation between More Than Human and my thesis. I don't think so. I put Machiavelli on this list, the prince, because if I'm writing about morality and amorality specifically, I think I have to. I put one of my favorite books on this list by John Flanagan from the Ranger's Apprentice series, because of how he writes dialogue, but I don't think there's any. I was told at one point to include a favorite, like one of my passages, my favorite passages of dialogue in a different class, and I included one from that book, and it's on the list now. I write a lot of dialogue, I guess. I did another one, Save Our Souls by Josh A. and Jay Kill. That's my favorite album ever, probably. It's really good. It has a lot of good songs on it. It has no relation to my thesis practically, but I need something. I put, again, my own work, Scary Outcomes Turn Boring, because that has the most connection to my thesis. It's not related like plot-wise or character-wise or anything. It's not like a prequel or anything, but it just has the most to do with it because it's my writing, it's my writing style. I put Station 11 on here, which is a sci-fi book. I'm writing sci-fi. I think that's a really good book. It's really underrated in my opinion. The series adaptation of it, not as good, but Station 11, the book, is good. I put a Time Warp Trio book on this. If you guys know Time Warp Trio, then you know Time Warp Trio. I'm not going to go into it beyond that. And then I put The Wanderings of Odysseus by Rosemary Sutcliff. I might have referenced her before. I love ancient Greek tales. Iliad, Odyssey. I like Odyssey more, but I think that the best translation, or like I don't know. I would still call it a translation. Is the Rosemary Sutcliff version. I highly recommend it. Especially because she puts it into a linear narrative, and I hate non-linear narratives. That's my least favorite part of the actual Odyssey. But I highly recommend The Wanderings of Odysseus because of how it delves into the mindscape of the characters. She also does a very good job with the Iliad, which is like the siege of Black Ships Before Troy, I think it was called. When I read it originally, I just called it the Iliad and the Odyssey because to me that was the definitive version. Then I read the actual version. I started to, and I was like, no, this is better because it's actually written well. No offense to Homer, it's just doesn't translate well, and it's an oral story in the original. But yeah, I put that on there because I like Rosemary Sutcliff, and I sort of realized that I didn't have many women on this list. I do think Wanderings of Odysseus does connect to my thesis, and I genuinely do like that book, but that's another reason why I did it. That's my inspiration list that I have, and I have a Walt Whitman quote to start out. I don't really like Walt Whitman that much, but he's my middle name, so I don't have anything against him. I just don't like poetry. The only poet I like is Sarah Teasdale. There Will Come Soft Rains. I'm sorry if I offended any poets out there, especially any poets who know me. I have nothing against you personally, it's just I don't like poetry. I don't think anybody who knows me knows about this channel. I think I operate in very different spaces than they do. Regardless of that fact, that's all I had to say about my inspiration. I just wanted to talk it out because I really don't understand the overemphasis on inspiration, because I'm not writing an essay. I'm not writing a paper that I need to take quotes from and say, I am quoting the invention of prehistory, or I'm doing a paper, a review of The Big Sleep. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm making my own piece. In The Big Sleep, you won't see Raymond Chandler go like, oh yeah, The Big Sleep inspired by There Will Come Soft Rains by Sarah Teasdale. That's not a thing. Writers don't do that. Maybe in an interview, you ask Raymond Chandler, he says, I really do like Sarah Teasdale. It's not in the book. I don't see the worth of this. I really don't. I'm gonna do it because I don't want to fail college, but I just don't like it. I just don't like it. What do you have to say about inspiration? Do you think it's an important thing to acknowledge whenever you make a piece? Or do you think it's something that you shouldn't go out of your way to acknowledge, but it's important to strive for, but inspiration doesn't necessarily have to be one source or a list of sources. Inspiration can be Earth itself. Inspiration can be the world, your life, your dreams. Most of my inspiration comes from my dreams. What book is that? But yeah, which side are you on? If you disagree with me and you love inspiration, you love when authors acknowledge where they got inspiration from, that's a completely valid opinion to have, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about it and how you think about that. Please let me know down below if you have that opinion, or if you don't, just let me know. Let me know things. Just let me know. That's all I have to say. So until next time, adieu.